I've been going back and forth on this fight many different times. So I have two sides of my brain tell me two different things. Number one, if you look at Rogerio Bontorin, he definitely faced lesser competition than Brandon Royval. That's not saying that he didn't face great competition. It's just Royval got thrust into insane fights. I believe he went from Tim Elliott winning that fight to knocking out Kai Kara France, or no, I think it was a submission against Kai Kara France. Actually, we'll check it out. But and then from there, he fought Brando Moreno, the current champion, and he actually got his arm dislocated, which is why he lost the fight. Who's to say that fight was back and forth? Obviously, Brandon Royval has that crazy style where it looks like he's about to get finished or he's going to finish the person, but it was going back and forth. He lost that fight, and then he got submitted by Alejandre Pantoja. Hope I'm saying his name correctly. But Pantoja, mind you, he has 2 victories over Brandon Moreno, the current champion. So if you look at it, Brandon Royval is coming off of getting finished twice, but his competition is incredible. Versus Rogerio Bontorin, he got knocked out in a crazy fight against Kai Kara France, but Kai Kara France really upped his level. After that loss to Brandon Royval, he just took it to another level, and he's gotten so much better. I mean, I think he was always great, and maybe he just embraced, because he was known as a knockout artist, then he became like a decision-type fighter, and I think he embraced his knockout style again. And then he went ahead and beat up Matt Schnell at 135. The only disconcerting thing was that he actually weighed in a pound over. I think he weighed in at like 137, and you're allowed the 1 pound rounds at 136. So that's kind of worrisome. But after watching the weigh-ins, because I wanted to take a good look at the weigh-ins, because I was gonna say, my first thought is put money on what's his name, on Brandon Royval, as even though he's the he's the favorite before watching the weigh-ins. But watching the weigh-ins, Rogerio Bontorin looks really good. I don't know if he got his diet figured out, or could be just he's pretty deflated, but he looks very solid. So, I've been going back and forth. I thought that, Brandon Royval, it's because of the higher level competition, but he's coming off 2 back-to-back finishes. And I understand that you could say, there were submission, and I actually think might have been, I'm not sure if the fight against the current champion, Brandon Moreno, was a submission or knockout, but it had to do with his arm getting dislocated and he couldn't do much. But the second fight was a submission. It's not like he got knocked out, which makes a difference. But still, Bontorin is a high-level jiu-jitsu expert. He could catch Royval doing some of his craziness. So I think it's either worth grabbing Rogerio Bontorin at plus 145 or taking a shot at the over 2.5 plus 125. Now, a lot of you are going to think, hey, you're crazy, man. Brandon Royval fights like a wild man. His fights always end in a finish. Mind you, it's still a 125 fight. Bontorin, his last fight was a decision against Matt Schnell. Brandon Royval might have also calmed down. We don't know. And just the fact, if you look statistically, in most cases, those fights, I don't know what the numbers are exactly, but I believe a good, like over 50% or maybe more, go to a decision. And I get it. It really depends on the fighter. But I think that it might be worth taking a gamble at, the over 2.5 and Rogerio Bontorin. I think that, it'd be sucky if you took a gamble on both and Royval ends up like winning by a crazy submission or knockout in the first round. So that's something to keep in mind, is that Bontorin has been knocked out. He got knocked out by Kai Kara France. And, Royval does have some knockout power, does have some power to his punch. But I think Kai Kara France, people underestimate his knockout power because he kept having these decision fights. Early in his career, he was a knockout artist, and he started having all these decision fights. So all in all, now I'm thinking about whether maybe this might be a stay-away fight. But I think if you are going to take a gamble, I would say, I see that over 2.5 is plus 125. To go with the distance is plus 175. I think might be worth grabbing that plus 175 line, because, at that point, the difference between over 2.5, you're getting plus 50 on that, the difference of what plus 125 versus plus 175. So I think it's worth either grabbing it to go to distance, or maybe sprinkling something on Rogerio Bontorin. And obviously, the other part is you may just want to grab one of those lines, because if Brandon Royval were to win, he's probably going to win early. He's probably not going to win the decision. Bontorin probably has a better chance of winning a decision. On the other hand, Royval does have that crazy cardio, so maybe he can decision. But, most likely he's going to win early. So maybe you're better off just picking a side, or maybe even grabbing Bontorin by decision. You could get probably really solid odds. But but in general, just be careful with this fight. They're again, you're looking at whether Bontorin, who's coming off a win, versus Royval, is coming off of 2 losses and being finished twice. So you got to keep into account his psychology and all that stuff. But he is a little bit wild, and Bontorin could take advantage of him on the ground. Perhaps he puts himself sometimes in crazy spots, and Bontorin maybe could snatch up a submission. He almost had the submission against Kattar, and I think he's like a top jiu-jitsu expert. So perhaps instead of taking the bet to go to distance, perhaps maybe you're just better off grabbing Bontorin at +145. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. Please like and subscribe, and I'm going to be putting out some new videos shortly. Thanks.